This is an incoming transmission from the Jersey Shore.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, powered by McLean Advisory Group. Today you'll hear some of the most important financial information and wealth-building techniques available anywhere.
Let's get this party started, huh?
Do you have a question for Scott and the team?
Am I on the air?
609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646.
We'll get that information to them by radio.
Now, Financial Insanity with Scott McLean.
As technology increases, well, so unfortunately does cybercrime. And today, we're going to arm you with some knowledge to help shield your life's work, your savings, and your identity. I'm Alex Dingman. This is Financial Insanity. And I'm next to, as always, Scott McLean, McLean Advisory Group. Scott, it is great to see you, my friend. And
you too, buddy.
This is important stuff, man. These scams, we know, are out there, and it just gets worse every year.
It's bad. I'm so glad if you're listening right now, I hope you don't just turn your brain off, but turn it on, because these thieves, they come in the daytime, they come at night, they never stop coming to get your hard-earned dollars. So, Alex, let's talk about several different issues. It's really ticking me off, because these people that are grabbing your bank accounts, calling for scams, I'm going to give you some illustrations. I want you to be aware, and it saddens my heart that several of our clients have gotten involved, and I'm going to give you some stories that are real. And I want to help you avoid that, whether you're working with McLean Advisory Group or not. You need to make this stuff real. So, Alex, what do you got? What have you heard about? I mean, this is amazing stuff.
Well, and because the stuff is out there, and there's no point in fighting it. It does exist, and so then it's all about, okay, how are you going to protect yourself? It's going to happen. There is going to be cybercrime. There's always been crime, and then as technology increases, cybercrime comes into the fold. And you know, there's some definitely some things that people can do, though, Scott, and one of those things is around their passwords. Can you give people any advice in regards to passwords, Scott?
You know, I found myself making the same mistake. Passwords seem to be the same. So you kind of want to make sure you have your passwords. I use a thing called LastPass. I'm not encouraging you to buy it, but I bought it. I'm using it. It saves a ton of different passwords with one place. Now, Google has their own password protection. Yeah. Then, of course, a lot of our clients, they have their notebook and notepad, and they keep it there for their kids in case they need it. So whatever system you have a system, but don't use the same password for every account. And it's got to be pretty crazy. For example, if I were to put my name, because I know my name is SCOTT, I might put a S as a $sign, C as maybe a little C with an asterisk. O would be maybe an @ sign or O. T might be the capital T, small t, and maybe I'll put some numbers involved, asterisk 1, 2, and then 3 with the $sign. Something weird that you can remember what it is, and then, of course, write it down in your notebook or get a LastPass type of system, Google, but save these. It's really important. Mm-hmm. This is critical. Some weird numbers, weird calculations. I mean, and if you have to change it. So you guys got to have a change your passwords.
That's good advice. And the number, if you have any questions, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. And I know my company, they just gave us some recent advice about maybe use song lyrics, because that's the kind of thing that would be
beautiful.
That'd be super hard for anyone to guess, because it's not anything that's real particular to you. So, you know, just think of a song.
Even smarter than mine.
Yeah. Well, that's, we're here for each other, Scott. We build each other up, my friend.
That's because you young kids know how to get around us old dogs.
Yeah. Well, it's important to, hey, you teach me stuff, I teach you stuff, old and new. It definitely comes together and create something beautiful. But, the great thing is too, Scott, if people are suspicious, because one thing is these companies are never going to straight ask you for your password. Now, when you log in, yes, but as far as calling you or texting you for a password, that will not happen. And I know one key thing here, Scott, is just simply asking a person who's calling, when's the last time I called you? And that's something that can really, throw off. Just don't, always just be, and unfortunately, got to be a little suspicious. And this is just about protecting yourself.
That's so true. So I mean, just this morning, I'm at the office around 6:30. I'm making some calls to some not clients, but some vendors I was working with. I told them I'd call them early in the morning because they're overseas working with another project I'm working on. And it's funny because I got a call, a text on my machine. Please call me right now. This is about your checking account or credit card account. So I said, well, wow, that's pretty different. So I called in the middle of one of my follow-ups, and I call, who's this? Well, this is Mr. with a foreign accent. I won't be foreign accent because I don't want to insult anybody, but a major foreign accent overseas, and they say some things. And okay, great. Just like you said, when did you call me last? Well, they say, yeah, we spoke last week about your, let's say website. We wanted to update it, and I need to get into your website. I'm with Microsoft. I need to get into your website because I see there's a problem. Really? What kind of problem? So I'm going to have a conversation real quick.
Yep.
I know it's a fake deal. If your gut tells you it's a fake deal, it's probably a fake deal. If your gut's telling you, I've never heard this before, don't go along with it. The longer they keep you on the phone, the more they win. If they keep you on the phone, the more they win because they're sucking your brain into it. Maybe this could be like a client that fell into that trap. And I can tell you, I'll give that story in a second. When they fell into the trap, they found out that their grandson was in a car accident, and it could be a dead child. This woman got in a car accident, called my client, which was the grandfather, and they said, hey, Mr. M, we'll just say Mr. M, this is fake name, let's say Juan. And the reason I'm calling is because your grandson got in a car accident. I don't want you to call anybody. I'd like to settle this right now for $25,000. I will come by your house and pick up $5,000 now. Apparently, the woman had a child in her, and looks like the child will not survive. But your grandson caused the accident. Well, Mr. M, my client, got involved. Now, I've known Mr. M for over 15 years.
Yeah.
He gave him the $5,000, but owed him $20,000. But they went to his house. I couldn't even believe this crap. So Mr. M said, okay, I won't tell anybody what's going on. Bottom line, Mr. M calls me and says, Scott, my wife and I are coming down there. I need to pull out $20,000. I said, okay, great. By the way, what is it for? And can I help you? Because nope, I need to have it. Mr. M, I've never heard your voice sound like this before. What's going on? Nothing, Scott. I just need the money. I just need to take it now. I said, how long will it take? I said, it'll take about 3 days to get your money in your hand. Okay, great. Can you process it for me? Yes, I'll tell you what. You need to come in and sign some paperwork. Will you come in? I'll come in right away. He came in right away with his wife, reading their body language. And I've, been in the business for now, 40 plus years, and watching their fear. Tell me what's going on. No, Scott, I'm not allowed to. Oh. You're not allowed to. Why? Well, because I just have to get the money to pay some kind of expense I have to pay. He wasn't telling me.
Yeah.
I've known this guy. He goes to our church. I've known him for years. Everybody knows him. Wonderful, warm guy. And he's saying, Scott, I have to have the money. Finally pulled it out of him. Apparently, I said, did you call the police? That your grandson got in a car accident going to the prom, and this woman got hurt. He goes, no. I said, well, let's call your son, the father of your grandson. No, I can't call my son. I'm not supposed to tell anybody. Mr. M, we are going to call your son. We are going to call him right now. I'm not going to give you the money. I now have to have my fiduciary responsibility. Either I give you the money and you cannot become a client, or we have to call your son. We called the son and said, by the way, and I was taking care of the call. This is Scott, and I got Mr. M, your dad, on the phone. By the way, and Mr. M, I didn't want him to say a word, and I told him that before the phone call. Mr. M, to the son. By the way, how's your son doing? Did he have fun last night? What did he do? Oh, sure. He came back. Him and his friends went out to play pool with a bunch of friends, and they came back. So he came back. He's fine. No car accidents. Why, Scott? Just want to know if he had a car accident. No, he's fine. You should have seen Mr. and Mrs. M. And if you're out there, IRS, by the way, real quick sidebar, they're not going to call you. It's
Nope.
Whether it's tax season or not. By the way, if it's a firm that's going to be asking for your password, they're not going to ask for your password. If it's somebody that's saying, look, you owe money, we need to get into your computer, don't do it. This subject today, Alex and I were talking about it, is the theft. These guys and gals are smart. The longer you stay on the phone, the more are you in quicksand, and you're going to find yourself buying their bull stuff.
Yep.
You're going to find they're bought this bull stuff. Keep it clean on the radio. And if you're out there and you've been a victim, and I've had several clients victim, and they ask me, Scott, what do I do now? How do we handle it? Well, I'm so glad our clients lean on us. But there's sometimes you just can't get the money back. If you're even entertaining it, wipe it from your brain. That's where the devil gets is a leg on your brain, and now you're going to buy into these stories as Mr. M did. And thank goodness all he lost was $5,000. And unfortunately, we called the other people in the neighborhood to see if there's cameras to see if we could have a license plate, but there was none. By the way, guys, they are smart. Don't follow the crowd thinking they're dumb. They're brilliant. Save your money. I can tell you the scams are going to get much worse.
Yep. Well, and that's why Scott and his team, they're here to help you in any facet when it comes to your finances, when it comes to your long-term planning. And this is the kind of thing that, you talked about that story, Scott. You're a great advocate for your folks. You're going to be there. You're going to be listening. You're going to be questioning, and it's all about looking out for folks. And one of those areas is helping to avoid scams. The number 609-488-4646. Again, that number 609-488-4646. And if you ever do have any questions, you're concerned, this email doesn't look right, this number, hey, I've just won the sweepstakes, but all I have to do is pay this little fee. Doesn't that sound great, Scott? If there's anything significant or something that may sound just a little weird, then, don't take it at face value. Give Scott and his team a call, 609-488-4646. Good stuff. We will talk more and more about scams and other ways that we can help protect folks. But coming up, we're going to talk about planning for the worst, hoping for the best. This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean.
What if you ordered a pizza, but when you opened the box, a couple pieces were missing? That would be upsetting, right? Now think about how much you believe you have saved for retirement. Do you still owe taxes on that money? If you do, that could take a big bite out of your nest egg. Financial advisor Scott McLean and his team at McLean Advisory Group understand the importance of tax planning and can help you reduce the impact that Uncle Sam has on your retirement. Give them a call today to start working on your retirement tax plan. 609-488-4646. Create a plan today so that you can get as many slices of your retirement pie as possible. Call Scott McLean at 609-488-4646 today and schedule your retirement tax analysis. That's 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Tax Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies, LLC, are not associated entities. Firm may not give tax advice.
And when you pay down debt, you don't pay down the highest interest rate. The biggest mistake is you pay the highest interest rate card when you should do the snowball effect of paying down debt.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, presented by McLean Advisory Group.
Every year, more than 500,000 Americans file for bankruptcy due to medical bills. Healthcare emergency, catastrophic illness, accident can knock you off your feet physically and financially. This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean. The number, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. Scott McLean, McLean Advisory Group. And this is a reality, Scott, and something that we got to plan for, that stuff's going to happen. We're going to have medical expenses.
Medical expenses are real. Going through what I went through, just a knee surgery, put me a new knee in there, and now I got to work out. But it takes time, effort, and energy. They said I wouldn't be back to work for, 2 or 3 weeks. and some people take longer. Well, I was back in a week. I think you and I spoke the week after, but I didn't have the energy I had. I was planning for the best because I told the staff before the drugs wore off, I'll be in next couple days, guys. No big deal. This is the second day out of the surgery, and went right home the next day or the same day.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, I felt great until the major drug wore off, and then I planned for the best. Didn't really plan for the worst. I thought I could jump in the office real quick, but my brain was in the office because I love what I do. I love speaking to you, Alex. I love speaking to people on the air and helping people. I thought I'd have my energy back, and it just wasn't back. How did I plan for it? I didn't plan for it. But how do you plan for it when it comes to your money? That's a hard thing. We don't plan to become sick and then our lights go dim. We don't plan for a car accident, although we do buy car insurance. We don't plan for inflation. We just have to now mitigate or drive ourselves through inflation by reducing our spending, reallocating our investments, maybe not spending money going out to eat as much so we can work our way through it. We've seen inflation. For those of you who've been around as long as I have, and I'm an old dog, 65, and I can tell you, I feel like my brain says I'm 19, 20. My body says I'm a little bit older, at least for now. How do you plan for the worst? Well, when it comes to finances, that's what's called the asset allocation. It's a big fancy word by saying we don't want to have everything in the bond account. We don't want to have everything into the short-term accounts, into the banks. We don't want to have everything into maybe mid-cap, small cap, large caps. Maybe we need to diversify around and find different alternatives. So there's in the universe of investments, Alex, like medical costs. Well, there's one thing in medical costs. Of course, they're always going to be expensive, and they keep going up. You have the right insurance. You can plan for that, the best of your ability. You can do those planning. And then as things go on, you ask other people, you pull your brain with some other financial advisors who have been through that tough road or who are going through it or understand it. This is really helpful information. And we talked about medical bills. And one of the biggest medical bills I speak to people when they get a certain age is, should I put my house into a irrevocable trust? So in the event I have to go to a nursing home, I've heard this, Scott, how can I preserve my assets? Where do I put my assets? So I want to make sure that my biggest assets, whether it's a huge bank account, savings account, investment account, maybe my house or my second house, should I put that into a special trust to really protect that or shield that or almost insulate that from the crows and the clowns that show up at the funeral? And when I think about that, many people forget that because they don't want to think about going to the nursing home. They want to think about, going to a place they're going to be away from their home. It's hard to think about. That is what you can plan now for. And then, of course, you have special trusts. We have special attorneys here, and I think we've done a show a time or two. I think we'll do one coming up soon where we talk about these special trusts that could really benefit some of you out there that are thinking about it, or maybe plan for the best and then plan for the worst. I should say hope for the best. Maybe you have a son or daughter out there that are going to be preventing, getting money if you pass away. Plan for the best. How do you give it to them? Do you give it all to them? This is part of your estate planning. How do you diversify the portfolio so that they can get a inheritance? Or maybe they are going through a divorce, and how do we protect the money from your child's spouse? These are questions, Alex, I get all the time.
Yep.
I call it a come to Jesus meeting, a really down-to-earth, real session. This is not textbook financial planning 101. This is asking questions 102.
Right.
Let's really understand what's going on. So again, when you're planning for medical care, let's hope for the best. Yes, we should diversify our portfolio to make money. Plan for the worst. Okay, right now, cash is a great, certain times, cash is a great investment because interest rates are high. But interest rates are low, diversify. But how do we protect our money? Or maybe we're going through a bump in the road, or possible bankruptcy. You mentioned that's a possibility. How do we protect our assets? This is the art of financial planning. But Alex, by the way, I did write a book called The Financial Planning Process, how the financial planning process leads your money to a mousetrap. If anybody's out there who would like to get a copy of that, please call. We'll put you on the air. We'll talk to you about it, give you, or those who want a quick segment of the estate planning, we'd love to get that in your hands. Just give Bonnie a call at 609-488-4646. I'll do it. No cost, no obligation. We can send you the e-chapters, like the PDF chapters. You can send it there. And for those of you who want to visit with me one-on-one, I'd love to get you a book in your hands so you really understand all the different areas. I mean, 40 plus years in this industry. And when I try to commonize or put it together, planning, you're thinking for the best. I want the best to happen. We all want the best until you get hit by a car or you go through a divorce, or your sweetie pie just died and you don't know how to handle the money because he or she did the money, but you didn't. This is the worst. You need to get a backup quarterback in your life. I'd love to speak to you. If you want to give me a call, by the way, if you're needing guidance or want to question me off the air, please do so. Don't put this back in your brain and put this off. I'd love to talk to you. 609-488-4646. You will not get a sales pitch. You will not get a bill. You will not get come and see me and we'll see how we can help you. You're not going to get that. I've been here for so long in Ocean County, since 1979 when I moved up from down south, coming off the road, cutting some albums. I can tell you a fact that if you come visit with us, let's just have a conversation. If the conversation leads to a great area, maybe you go back to your financial guy or gal, your lawyer, but you need to get things done. You've put it on the shelf too long. Maybe I'm speaking to you right now. If you've put this on the shelf for too long and have not brought these planning for the worst, expecting the best, but planning for the worst, let's have that conversation, because this conversation is a true, real conversation. Why? To protect all your hard-earned time, effort, and energy, which equals assets. Protect that from the crows and the clowns that usually show up with their hands out. I don't know if that makes sense to you, Alex. I'd love to speak to you off the air. Alex, I don't know how they can get a hold of me. You want to give them a shout out, but I think this is really important, especially now when our economy is doing some crazy stuff. Plan for the best and for the worst for both.
Yep. 609-488-4646. The number 609-488-4646 at a.com for the website. And talking about healthcare costs, it's a great thing we have Medicare. Turns on after we turn 65, but it's obviously, it doesn't cover everything. And I know you know some about it. You have folks that ask about it. What is not covered generally, and what are some options for folks dealing with these medical costs that are not covered by Medicare?
Well, I can tell you, in the Medicare, I'm actually in that area with many of you people out there. But it really, when you think about the Medicare costs, I know you want to look pretty and get that face, a tummy tuck, or the facelift, or I need a facelift when I was born. But anyway, I was just thinking, it doesn't cover that cosmetic surgery. If you were hurt in a car accident and need cosmetic surgery due to the car accident, it would cover it. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't cover it because you want to get pretty like me, or ugly like me and get prettier anyway.
And we don't recommend people get in car accidents on purpose.
No, that's absolutely, don't do that.
Shouldn't do that.
Maybe nursing home, you think it's going to cover nursing home, but that does not cover it. That's a different type of program. Maybe you're about to fly and take a trip overseas. You might want to get travel insurance. I've spoken to so many people, and one of our clients actually almost died overseas. They had to get flown in. Luckily, they had a large enough estate that they were able to get flown in, but they had a hard time getting flown in because they didn't want the doctors to handle them. It doesn't cover that. So you think about your travel. By the way, if you're traveling, I'll throw this out there for poops and giggles. If you're going to go travel, bring your power of attorney, a copy of the power of attorney, and stick that in your briefcase. Good tip for you. If you're going on a trip out of state or a vacation out of the country, bring your power of attorney, because you never know on this. The doctors might say, well, who's the power of attorney? And it'd become a real stickler, because now times thing are stickler. Or make sure that your kids have a copy of the power of attorney via PDF. They could send to you, but I would encourage you to do that. But again, it doesn't cover, let's go back to the subject at hand, the Medicare. It's not going to cover your fancy dental work. And so that's expensive. Hearing aids, if you're a veteran during wartime period, or maybe you served and you had certain in the gunnery range, or maybe in a tank, it may cover by the VA. So check out the Veterans Benefit. I've got a great contact for you to call somebody if you need that help for our dear veterans that served, and as well as long-term care. Feel free to call me. I built a company called Veterans Benefit Advisory Group in 2008. And then, of course, your eyes and your eye exam. So hearing aids, there's a lot of things it doesn't cover. You kind of think it does cover. So if you're like me, as you're in the Medicare period of time, these are things you should be aware of. And when you shop it out, which you can shop it out, there's all different prices. You can shop it out every single year. But again, there are things it doesn't cover that you maybe think it does cover.
Yep.
Beware. You want to plan for the best. So I think that's critical.
And Scott, people that have questions, they could give you a holler, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. Scott McLean, McLean Advisory Group. This is Financial Insanity, out-of-the-box thinking for your financial sanity. And we're talking today about planning for the worst, hoping for the best. And we're going to talk about long-term care. Nearly 70% of retirees are going to need this at some point. Don't go anywhere. More coming up.
Stop for a moment and think about this. Do you know how much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Or will the government take a bigger chunk than you thought? Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money. But do you have a plan to help make sure you don't pay more than you should? At McLean Advisory Group, we believe you deserve to keep more of what you've earned, which is why we're here to help you navigate the confusing world of retirement taxes. It's your money. You deserve to know what's at stake. Right now, taxes are historically low, but they won't be this low forever. So call the McLean Advisory Group team today so you don't miss out on this opportunity. 609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646. You work hard for your money, and we'll work just as hard to help you keep it. McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Tax Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies are not associated entities.
Frankly, you could have your grandkids tweet out to your friends or go on the Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is and say, I got great information from Scott.
And you left out TikTok there as you're rambling off the different social media being used by the kids today. You got to remember that TikTok.
Oh, that's right. Tickety-tock.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, powered by McLean Advisory Group.
Nearly 70% of retirees going to need some type of long-term care. This is according to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. So not a sure thing, but chances are you or your spouse are going to need long-term or nursing care of some sort at some time. And while the costs vary by location, the median cost of a private room in a nursing home over $100,000. This is Financial Insanity, out-of-the-box thinking for your financial sanity. I'm Alex Dingman, along with Scott McLean, McLean Advisory Group. And Scott, no surprise to you, that number there may be a surprise to some. Long-term care not covered by Medicare, Scott.
It's not. I'll never forget my daddy. I don't know if I mentioned this before in one of our shows, Alex, when Daddy and I were in the car, we're buying a property up in Newark, New Jersey, actually East Orange. And we're driving. So, son, when I get older, we were going pretty fast on the Garden State Parkway at the time. This was back in the 90s. And, of course, Daddy was young. Well, back then because he was young, but I'm thinking now I'm old.
Yeah.
He said, Dad, what's on your heart? He goes, son, I just want to let you know that if I get dementia, Alzheimer's, I want you to do me a favor. If I get, disabled,
sure,
do me a favor, go down this Garden State Parkway and push me out. What, Dad? What are you kidding? Yeah. He's like, come on, Dad. Yeah. Now we always joked around like that because we were just a down to earth family. And I said, Dad, are you serious? He goes, son, I don't want to go to a nursing home. But now there's nothing wrong with nursing homes.
Yeah.
But if you're in a nursing home or maybe have a loved one there, you do want to inspect what you expect, by the way. But I'll just remember nursing homes have a way, as you mentioned, Alex, at the beginning of the show, to evaporate that hard-earned income, that hard-earned retirement, that hard-earned beautiful house or estate that you've built. It has a way of really putting a lien on it, and you would never know. So when we talk about healthcare costs, yes, long-term care, and by the way, there's several types, but long-term care provisions or policies or types of contract could be very, very, very valuable. As we spoke, I guess earlier in the segment, we spoke one time about Medicare and what does it cover, what doesn't it cover, the gaps in between it, the drugs, does it cover drugs? But long-term care, this is long-term care. And some states are more effective than other states. So again, this is a good discussion.
Mhm.
And so there are some products, like give you an idea out there. I'm not selling you, listen to me, listen, you guys, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm trying to tell you what's out there so you're aware. See, unaware is lack of knowledge, but if you have knowledge, now you know how to take action. But there's a few products have been out. When I was younger, I remember I was out in Jacksonville, Florida, where I grew up, and I remember some guys coming door to door selling cancer policies. And I remember, what the heck is this cancer policy crap, Dad? He goes, son, well, I understand cancer is getting bigger. This is the 60s and 70s. I'll never forget it. And I remember Daddy was saying, son, we don't need that. It's just cancer policy. It's cheap. It's like something like $50 a year, and they cover all sorts of cancer. Let's snap forward from 1960, and here it's the year 2000. 40 plus years forward, my dad died of cancer and my mom did die of cancer. Should they spend the policy? I don't know. But as of those times, policies have gotten better. They've become more aware that people don't want to throw their money away.
Right.
So there's some kind of contracts called long-term care coverage that'll cover the cost. And it could be in the form of life insurance. So if you don't need it, then what happens is you get a lump sum tax-free distribution. So you get all the money back that you paid in. There's other types of contracts that if you put a lump sum down and you don't use it, you get it all back plus interest. There's other policies. If you like the old policy of day, I think Travelers was the number one back then, or Genworth was another company, and John Hancock. A lot of companies out there had the long-term care contracts. And so you pay. If you don't use it, you lose it. That's what the normal contracts were of years ago, but they've gotten much better. This might be a good tool, but let me give you another tool out there, guys, in addition to the long-term care that Alex is really waking some people up to. And Alex is a very good topic. I'm glad you brought it up because people think they got it covered, but it can evaporate your money drastically.
Oh, yeah.
And you think, I can take care of my husband. I can take care of my wife if they get it. I can take care of him. Yeah, your heart is big. Your muscles may be big, but they do get worn out. Your energy gets worn out, and now you need some help. It is a caregiver that you're going to need, and I'm going to tell you that 9 times out of 10, you're going to need a caregiver or someone to come in and help you, whether you're your children or maybe someone else, but you're going to need that. And I know we came that with my mom and dad. When Daddy died in 5 days with cancer, leukemia. My mom had cancer. It went from her lung to her kidneys, and 3 months later, she went home to be with the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
But the neatest thing about it, if there was anything neat about it, they died short term.
Of course.
The worst part is watching your mom and dad, like my ex-father-in-law, in a nursing home bed in the VA hospital for 3.5 years of brain cancer. Let me tell you something, guys. This is something that needs to be planned for, and this is something you can do. Whether you speak to your financial advisor or not, or an insurance guy or gal, this needs to be a discussion. Why? Because it's not only a product or a vehicle to use, but maybe it is an estate planning tool. Should I buy or open up a trust? Should I start hiding, or I should say redirecting, better than hiding? Should I redirect my assets into a special trust, which people do with us all the time, Alex, into this trust? So in the event my lights go dim or this money's starting to go out, they will not have to have liens against their property or use the assets. This is planning in the best portion of the area that you can do now. And I think, Alex, people are putting this aside. They're not paying attention. And the reason why? Who the heck wants to talk about your lights going dim?
Yeah,
I don't want to talk about that.
Of course, nobody wants to talk about it, but like we said before, nearly 70% of folks are going to need some sort of long-term care at some point. Yeah. And if you have questions, the number 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. Usually the time is, well, as early as possible, but when is the ideal time to start preparing for those long-term care needs? Because, I mean, like anything, I'm sure price goes up longer you wait, but what makes the most sense, Scott?
I'm going to reverse that question. When is the best time to start saving? The first day you get a job. When's the best time to plan for long-term care? When you're about to start to retire, or put that in your plan. See, it's not, you may not even need it, but the new programs and the new facilities they have out there, the new products they have out there, Alex, there are some tools that could really help insulate and protect your assets. I don't recommend a special trust for a lot of people right off the bat, but I'm going to give them heads up. So every year, if your financial advisor, your salesman, your agent, whatever you want to call them, if they don't bring up this area of the healthcare issues, whether they're leaving a piece of you off the table, they're not bringing it up. And I'm not being ugly, I'm not being curt. I'm sure they love you to death. But this is not talking about the last trip you had. This is not talking about your kid's wedding or their great grandbaby that just popped out. No, those are great topics. But if we got down into the muck and grabbed our shovel and start to dig down, we're going to find some muck in this discussion to figure out how can we fill this up with protection clauses, rules, whether it's a trust, an irrevocable remainder trust. Maybe you need to start gifting to the children, in addition to protecting the assets, reallocating the investments so it's in a safer mode. So if you need it, it's there. And then, of course, so for some of you who are financially well off, it should be a gifting policy. But by the way, Alex, real quick, that's one of the strategies. I spoke to a person that came in just recently. They have a very nice estate. And I mentioned him on the phone. It came from a radio show, Alex, our radio show.
Yeah.
Is how much can you gift right now in 2023? How much can you gift right now? And what's the gift tax exclusion? And that's $17,000. If you're listening to this show right now, it's 2023. In 2023, it's $17,000. But wait, what's that? But wait, there's more. See, if you're married, it's $34,000. But wait, there's more. You see, in this family, they had a very large estate. And I mentioned to him as we had our phone call when they called in from one of our radio shows, Alex, I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but he called in and he asked me, he said, so Scott, what should I do and how should I handle it? I said, basically on everything you just told me on our call, but I'd like to meet you again in person to make sure I got all the details and see the numbers you have. And he did come in just recently. Right on the phone, I said, did you know you could give each one of your kids right now? In his case, it was wonderful. And each one of you out there, don't use his situation for yours, but just gravitate this to your situation, meaning he wanted to give each kid $500,000. Now, his estate was very, very healthy. And he said, Scott, I can do that right now. I said, yes, but it's going to require a lot of work. Really? What do I have to do? It's one piece of paper. Are you kidding me, Scott? We was joking back and forth, the 84-year-old young man. I said, yeah, it's just one piece of paper. And it's this piece of paper will come from your tax preparer. He said, well, does it cost a lot of money? No, it's actually probably maybe $25 and you fill out the forms. He said $25 and I can give each kid $500,000. They don't pay any tax on the money I give them. And I could do that right now. I said, yes, absolutely. He said, well, I want to do that. What is that piece of paper? Okay, that's called the gift tax exclusion form. You've got to fill that out. You give that out to the event. You can give actually a tremendous amount of money on the exemptions in 2023, and every year it's been going up. So I encourage, if you're thinking about giving and you're using the number 10,000, that's old school. Today it's 2023, it's 17,000. It goes up every year, but actually there's an exclusion up to $20 million if you're married and over. So this is a great way, again, when you're looking at the the publication 559. If you pull that up on the gift taxes, you can read that if you like reading that boring stuff. But for those of you, to him, it's not boring because it affects him.
Yeah.
So again, Alex, when we're talking about the long-term care, we're talking about taxes, we're talking about gifting. This is where a financial advisor really needs to get down and dirty and look at all the areas. And I'm sure your guy, if you're listening to me, I'm sure your guy or gal does that. And if they don't, maybe they're just a one-trick pony and sell certain individual products. This could be not good for your financial health.
Yep.
You got to look at everything, Alex.
Absolutely. And if you have questions, Scott has answers. 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. This is Financial Insanity. Thanks for joining us.
What if you ordered a pizza, but when you opened the box, a couple pieces were missing? That would be upsetting, right? Now think about how much you believe you have saved for retirement. Do you still owe taxes on that money? If you do, that could take a big bite out of your nest egg. Financial advisor Scott McLean and his team at McLean Advisory Group understand the importance of tax planning and can help you reduce the impact that Uncle Sam has on your retirement. Give them a call today to start working on your retirement tax plan. 609-488-4646. Create a plan today so that you can get as many slices of your retirement pie as possible. Call Scott McLean at 609-488-4646 today and schedule your retirement tax analysis. That's 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Tax Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies, LLC, are not associated entities. Firm may not give tax advice.
We talk a lot about the risks to your money in retirement. Wall Street Journal saying baby boomers' biggest financial risk, cognitive decline. Scary risk can rob you of your best judgment. Sometimes it can go even unnoticed for years. With that in mind, we're going to go ahead and bring you a top 5 list for this week. Top 5 scams that you should be aware of, Scott.
Well, I don't know about you. And I just had someone in the office, and this lovely lady, 73 years old, was in the office and has a new friend, beautiful, beautiful gentleman, as he sat out in the lobby and we got through talking about it. And I called the romance scam. And obviously it's real. And when you think about the romance scam, of course, they perpetrate themselves as they got money and they want to go out, and who ends up paying the bills, and they end up having that area. On top of romance scams, I would like to throw in there, when you think about that, maybe kids who think they're so concerned about their mom and dad's money that maybe they think mom and dad have a lot of money and they can borrow the money. I think that's a scam as well. I don't know if that's what you're talking about, but I think these partners, romance scams, as you well indicated, these dating websites, these elderly victims, just to get your information. Be very careful of that. We all love relationship people. This is important. Now, Alex, you said there was another scam out there, the tech scam, I think you mentioned.
Yeah, and that's something, and we see it all the time. Really, you can have text messages, you can have emails, but unfortunately, there's a lot of technology nowadays, Scott, and people can be reached so easily, and you never know how somebody maybe even got your information. But there's a lot of communication, and sometimes people can make it seem very real and something very relevant, and they can give you a lot of sense of urgency, and it's important to be aware of those kind of things happening as well.
Boy, that is so true. When I think about these tech scams, I remember when we do taxes, and these text scams, they turn into a phone call. Did you get you owe money on the government? You need to send us money. Or one of the close friends and clients, which obviously won't say their name, where they called me up and they were beside themselves, where they actually ran to Walmart and they wired money through Western Union of $5,000 because they heard their grandson was in trouble, got in a car accident, but they won't report it if they send them money because their grandson hit somebody and they ended up almost dying. The woman is pregnant, now lost a baby. This is real. And she called me, the husband and wife called me, and they said, Scott, what do we do? And, I said, let's call your son right now and see about how their child's doing, your grandson. No, they told us not to call anybody or they're going to go ahead and press charges.
Yeah.
I don't know if you would believe that. Now, my clients are a little bit older. This couple, we're very close. And I looked at them in the eyes and said, we're calling your son right now. No, Scott, I don't want you to. I said, okay, we're going to call the police. They were in my office. We're going to call the police station right now to see if there's any accidents. And we did. I said, okay, Mr. and Mrs., let's say JoJo, we're going to call now your son. You should have seen his wife's face. Alex, I believe you. These scams are real. And they did not want to call because they're afraid it's real. We got the son on the phone because I forced them to do it. Oh, no, he's with his best friend right now. There was no car accident. These are real scams, whether it's from tax returns, such as the tech scams, the grandparent scams, usually trying to, which is the third scam you had mentioned to me when we were speaking before. Of course, they're faking out relative. And then we talk about the government. We talk about the taxes, the fourth scam.
And that's a big one, Scott. That's a big one because
huge.
Because they'll pick the right times too, whether it's tax season or whether they know it's open enrollment or whatever it may be, and that's when you'll get a call, and then it makes it seem very relevant.
The tax scam, Alex, I get this call every daggum year. And we have it in our folder when we do our tax returns for our clients. We do a for our financial clients. It's a real expensive tax returns, like $110 we charge. We don't want to be a profit center. We want to help our people understand that. But one thing we found out is, okay, this is the IRS calling. You need to owe money. We don't want to put a lien on your account. And the IRS doesn't call people. It's like, wait a minute, whoa. Didn't we just tell you in the portfolio when you got your tax returns, there's a thing you may get a phone call. Don't expect a phone call. It says in there real clearly. So, and then the stimulus checks. I can't tell you how many calls we got because we do taxes for our clients and the stimulus check.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. Totally ridiculous. And you know what? I don't blame the older folks because they're sitting at home, they're watching their TV shows, they get a phone call, and fear is a tremendous motivator the older you get. And that, to me, your lights go dim, maybe your husband, your wife, your significant others taking care of you, and you're worried about them. And these scams, well, Alex, the sweepstakes scam, how about that one? Or the charity. I want to give money to the poor people or this charity. Or maybe like my friend, as I mentioned, one of your shows before we spoke about my roommate in college is over in Poland helping Ukrainians. And he's there right now. But there's a lot of scams. I remember the scam about the Hurricane Sandy. Where did all that daggum money go? Ticks me off. And I think of all this illegitimate, quote, charitable organizations. This is a huge problem for the seniors out there. Guys, don't fall for it. And then you end up calling your financial guy, hey, I need like my close friend and Scott, we need to pull out $10,000 because our grandson got in a car accident I mentioned earlier. I said, no, I'll let you get your money, but we need to make some calls first. As a fiduciary, Alex, my job is to protect our clients the best I can. In every way I can. And if they don't want it, they can take their money and go to another advisor because my job is to be, I call it in Ezekiel 33, the watchman, to oversee people's monies, to help them. You know what? This is a lost art. One thing, Alex, we didn't talk about, you could have kids out there trying to scam their parents.
Well, that would never happen, Scott. What are you talking about? There has never been a kid out there who's tried to get their parents' money when they didn't actually probably need it. What are you talking about? That would never happen.
It's crazy.
That would never happen. No. Well, and Scott,
I see that.
And I'm sure that you do, and you see it all. And you are somebody, if somebody's sitting out there and they're thinking, well, heck, is this a scam or what should I look out for? If you have questions, then Scott could maybe have some answers for you. If you want to give him a buzz, 609-488-4646. You can give Scott a call, 609-488-4646. Scott, since you deal with this a lot, are there some indicators that somebody might be dealing with a scammer?
Sometimes not. Sometimes they could be sounding so sincere, so realistic, you might not realize it. But then on the other side, basically they go to Google and they do a search online, and people who contact you. Or perhaps maybe you go online, you look up their phone number. If those seniors, people that are cognitively, they're going to be proactive, maybe you Google the phone number, see if it's a real phone number. And when I see people also really being proactive is they want you to download stuff, and they want you to just click on this, and it leads you down the primrose path of being ripped off. And that internet thing, because a lot of seniors these days, more now than ever, are on the internet. They sit in there, maybe one person's watching a TV show and the other person's on the internet, and you get caught in this web of deception. And I think we've really never did this on a radio show in the past 10, 12 years, but this is a good segment, Alex. We talk about so many scammers they're trained. They know how to get your information, and then they get your voice, and they get it's almost right now, just like the thief in the night. Well, now they don't even have to go in your house. They're going to get it by the internet. So I think this is really, really a good topic of the scams. And again, the nicest guy, the nicest girl in the world, one of the flags, maybe they're good looking, they have a nice, sweet talking self, and maybe they're just trying to sell you something and get you involved in something, and they get your credit card, and and now you're spending time cleaning up this nonsense. So don't use your debit card. If you're going to buy things, use a credit card. The credit card companies are really helping out. They've been a big insulator. I would never use a debit card. And by the way, it happened to my sister, where her daughter is on my sister's account, and she started buying stuff, and she started adding to the credit card, which my sister is in her name, and she allowed her daughter to use it.
What could go wrong?
All of a sudden, she sees charges. My goodness. And she got taken to the cleaners. And I won't say what I did, but I can tell you, I see this from a firsthand position to my clients, and I just disturbs me, especially in the field I was heading in. How do I protect our clients as a fiduciary, as a protector of our clients? And I think this is really important, Alex. Great subject.
Well, and Scott, you don't want to just walk around and be somebody who doesn't trust anybody, or that you're super paranoid or stuff like that. But how can working with financial professional, working with you, how can that insulate people, give some people some protection against scams? Because some of them can come from people that you really didn't expect it to come from.
Well, I know one thing. We get phone calls. And I can tell you several phone calls we get from clients, and they want to take money out, and I will drill them down on questions. Well, let me ask you something. What happened? What took place? What do you need it for? Not that I'm trying to control their money, not at all, but to protect them from what's going on. Now, if they don't want to tell me, they don't have to. I'm supposed to give them their money. If they ask for money, that's fine. But if I'm hearing something fishy, whether they get the sweepstakes or whatever, I really want to know, is it the fraudulent, deceitful people out there trying to get their hands on their money? And I usually call. The second thing, of course, when I think about that, I really want to find out, if they call us, what is it about, as I just mentioned? If it even goes to the next level, which I have done, I may call the power of attorney. If we keep our clients in our firm, when someone becomes a client, I want a copy of their will, power of attorney, living will. So if they call in and they want to ask questions, I'm going to pull them up. Who is this? And I want to find out about that, or our staff would find out about that. So ask lots of questions. Maybe you go to your best friend before you do anything and ask them questions on what should you do. If not, and maybe you get this fancy software out there. I don't know which is the best software. I'm not telling people what the best software is, but there's software to protect your title, a title lock, I think they call it, or maybe a life lock, which your protection. I don't know which is the best out there. That's not my job. Seek it out, ask your kids for help. But I think you need to have these tools because it's going to get more rampant as the market changes, as people get more aggressively, theft goes up.
And Scott, for the last time here today, how can people get a hold of you if they do have questions?
Pick up the telephone, 609-488-4646. Our staff will put you on the call log. We'll follow up, 609-488-4646. And if we can help somebody, obviously we're a financial firm. We're not the fraud detection firm. I'll make that real clear. If we can hear some phony things going on, we will probably either post it on the web, 609-488-4646.com. And you can see for some helpful tips, if we have any at that time, of things that are happening.
This radio program may contain information which has gone regulatory or other significant changes since its original recording. The information and views expressed on today's show is educational in nature and is not intended to be a recommendation for any specific investment, product, strategy, plan, tax, or legal advice. Information presented is believed to be factual and up to date, but we do not guarantee its accuracy. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, a SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies, LLC, are not associated entities.
This radio show is a paid placement.